Two brothers, one goal.
This stock has 500% potential, and we're going to go right into it. I am not kidding you when I say this. I am so hyped. Market's going crazy right now. Let's give you the symbols and portfolio updates real quick. Kade just told me he's above 28K.
Yep.
You know what? That is 10K above me now.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember,
so I'm 28,446 officially
well,
right now.
you remember my thesis,
Yeah,
right?
you're all in cash.
I'm all in cash until end of September, but that might have changed and might be the reason of this 500 potential upside that I'm talking about. So let's just start with what's going on in the economy. I know Kade kind of just mentioned to me, I have a few things. Kade, go with your list first. What's going on macro side? Like, what's overall market right now? What's the outlook?
Yeah, and well, maybe I should just update people on how we are where we are. So the reason that I'm up so
Let's do
big
that first.
The reason I'm up so big this last week is because of my double leveraged BMNR, which is BMNU, and my double leveraged MSTU, which is double leveraged MSTR. Bitcoin has seen a huge rally over the past week and a half. And so those are basically leveraged Bitcoin, leveraged Ethereum. Both are rallying, ripping higher. And so I've doubled my money in the Ethereum trade, and I've almost doubled my money in the Bitcoin trade, which is why my account is doing so well. Because, as everybody knows here, my other trade is IREN, and that is actually currently down 3%. So down small, but down. So Bitcoin's rallying. And the reason Bitcoin's rallying is because the Scott Bessent, and I always forget his job title, but he's essentially in charge of the money for the US, just said that they're going to keep printing money. And so the whole Bitcoin thesis, like the grand thesis, is that Bitcoin is not attached to any government or whatever. And as long as the government keeps printing money, scarce assets will become more valuable. And a government can't affect how much Bitcoin there is, but they can affect how much dollars there are. So that's a big part of the rally. Plus, Trump had a summit with a bunch of the highest crypto leaders and was very bullish and saying things are going to go well. So huge Bitcoin rally, which is why my account's doing so well. Other macro events that are happening. One, NVIDIA printed earnings yesterday, and they printed 96 billion, and the CFO came on and
$96 billion. NVIDIA's market cap is larger than most countries' entire GDP in the world right now. That is crazy. Anyway, sorry.
Crazy. But the CFO predicted 70% growth in 2027 as well. So it's not like, yeah, forward guidance. I mean, they're just killing it.
They're growing.
Some other things just to kind of go over, just in like huge macro, and then me and Mac will kind of go over our thesis and everything like that. Inflation is stuck, and the Fed chair is talking this Friday, so we'll see what happens there. That's something that's really smart to watch, because the Fed can affect the market in a significant way. The war in Iran is not going better, but oil fell anyways, so it feels like people are thinking that's going to get resolved soon. Canada and the US is in a tariff war, which isn't great and could affect if anything you're dealing with has metal in it. That's a big part of that trade. Yeah, and then Bitcoin's just ripping right now. And part of the reason Bitcoin ripped is because there was all the good news, and then a bunch of shorts got squoze, which is why things go on.
People had to buy back and
the higher it goes, the more that happens, and the more people get liquidated, and it just starts ripping up. Because of how part of how a stock is priced is, if there's a bunch of sellers against it, it pushes it down. If there's a bunch of buyers, it pushes it up. It hits equilibrium as those are doing the same. But if you get major rallies, then everyone who's against gets liquidated, and there's less money against, which keeps pushing it up. But in the opposite, and what we've seen happen is if you have less buyers and all your call buyers get liquidated, then it shoots down. And that's why you get huge movements in either direction. But it can be like an exponential increase because the higher it goes, the more people get liquidated on the other side of the trade.
Yeah, I mean, people are really keen on the Bitcoin 200 week moving average because that's usually the cycles that it goes. That cycle doesn't happen till October. That's where we're pulling up. And so that's why people are, there's so much videos on, is this the next rally? Or, would be a little early and stuff. But like, honestly, I don't know if this is going to be a fake rally. Like, I don't see it dipping back unless there's, really, really bad news in the crypto space again because of all the good news. I mean, Trump backing it up, people buying back. It did just reach, if you look at the fear greed meter, which I like to watch just to see, crypto was an extreme fear a week and a half ago, and it is an extreme greed today.
Wow.
So it's jumped, way up there. So we'll see what's happened, but I don't know, man. This could be it. If we hit the next Bitcoin rally, I would not be surprised if Bitcoin doubled from its previous all-time high. That's what it does. You know what I mean?
Hey,
it goes up so quick, so fast.
Just because you mentioned it, and I'm actually really curious about this right now. So for those of you who don't know, Mack and I are using AI more and more every day, every week in research and things we're doing and everything like that. So anyways, I presented a strategy for, this is a different account, but it's relevant. And the one thing that the AI told me is, well, the one big piece you're maybe missing is looking more into the 200-day moving average and trading based on that. And so it's funny that you say that about Bitcoin because I'm not a technical guy and I don't really like to look at
not
technicals
technical analysis. Yeah.
because I think they work until they don't. But it's interesting.
True.
I was listening to a podcast the other day and it was like, a lot of things could be self-fulfilling prophecies, right? And so because there's hundreds of thousands of people that are technical traders that trade on the 200-day moving average, that could make it true, right? Now, you still have to look at like big macro events, like you could be within the 200-day moving average and then COVID happens. Well, COVID is a sell signal no matter what the technicals say, right? And you're not always going to catch it perfectly or whatever, but I just found that kind of interesting. And now you're mentioning it about Bitcoin. Do you know where the 200-day moving average is? Because maybe getting back into that zone would be a huge bull as well. Should I look it up real quick?
Yeah, look it up real quick. I believe we're above it now after this small little uptick rally, about 25%. I think Bitcoin in the last 2 weeks has gone up 25 to 30%. And I'm pretty sure that 200-day moving average was high 60s, low 70s, no?
74,000 to 85,000. Yeah.
So we're right in that range.
So we're in it now.
We're in it. And there, when Bitcoin goes on like its actual next rally of what it does every 4 years, it has the drawdown, right? And then the uptick, we had the drawdown 54%. It was less than what people had thought. The reason, and I did research because originally people's like, hey, we're going to 40K. And that's because they were doing technical analysis from the previous where it's like, we've seen a 75% drop. So Bitcoin should potentially get to 40K. Now it kind of got disrupted. Bitcoin's starting to prove it's actually not as speculative. It's not as volatile as it once was, and it's almost proof of concept. Now, that does take away some upside now, though, right? If you take away the downside. But that being said, if you look at each rally, it's, 200 to 300% from its all-time high every time. So now people are like, Bitcoin to 250 by end of year, Bitcoin to 300, and that's, double essentially from its previous a little over double from its previous all-time high. And if that happens, we're going to be really happy.
Yes, we will.
We will be extremely happy. So I'm pumped. Are you keeping the double leveraged? How long are you keeping the double leveraged for?
The game plan is to keep the double leveraged until it goes to its all-time high again. And then switch to just the normal.
Are you going to dip into any leverage?
No, I still need to figure out leverage, to be honest. And me and Mac talked about this the other day, but I got levered up, dipped into margin, as much margin as I possibly could actually, about 6 weeks ago. Does it feel like it was that long ago, Mac? 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Basically, after I did it, Robinhood sent me all these warnings. Hey, you could get liquidated if this goes down 1%. You're way over levered. Don't do this. And all these like warnings. And I don't know. I was trading options at the time, so I don't know if options have different collateral levels, and that's why I was freaking out. I don't know if margin always has those warnings, but like I even tried so that I only had like $1 of margin because I just wanted to see where would the level be where it stopped giving me this super aggressive warning of where I could get liquidated. And with $1 of margin, I still had the same. You could get liquidated tomorrow. Make sure to have cash ready, etc. So
Yeah.
I still don't know how it works between the
Yeah.
two of us.
Yeah, we can figure it out. Honestly, I still don't like trading cash I don't own, so I'm just going to stick, as long as I have cash, we'll just stick with that. But anyway, last thoughts on Bitcoin. I know you guys are probably like, wow, Kade, we're following Kade's trades now. Mac, you're washed. You don't take any risk anymore. I promise you, I didn't miss out. I just had a different time horizon for big money than my long term. I totally believed in Bitcoin, Ethereum. I just thought that September, October, with some news, and historical thing. And hey, I was wrong this time, potentially. We're not in September yet, but I just didn't want to go all in on my big money on a trade I wasn't 100% convicted on. And I am proud I stuck to my guts because I would have been more sad if I was wrong. However, in my long term, I did purchase a significant amount of MSTR and BMNR, which I am very happy with holding long term. So not missing out, but I am still happy that I stuck to my guts and my thesis of, hey, this is how I'm feeling. If I'm not 100% convicted, I can't go all in. And I'm happy I did that. Discipline, I think, is where Kade and I are going to thrive. And Kade had a little different thesis, and we obviously are going to trade a little bit different, and we'll have a little bit different results. But that leads me into my next thing, going to NVIDIA's earnings, which may have just changed my thesis, because now proof of concept is still there. And honestly, NVIDIA beating earnings isn't what's moving the needle. I want everyone to know that. NVIDIA has beaten expected earnings the last 4 years significantly. That's not what's moving their stock price. It was their forward guidance, and everything they said was planning to still unfold with, regardless of how people felt about the AI infrastructure, of, hey, we're growing 70% next year at these amounts, right? People are knowing they're going to expect beat earnings, but they still can't believe a company can make $100 billion in a quarter, and they're doing it, right? Like, real money is here. This isn't like a .com bubble where you're not making money yet. So that leads me to their partners, and may have just shifted investors' mindset in the market, where I actually am only half cash now, and I went half in my favorite stock right now. NVTX, double leveraged NVTX. 6 things I want to go over. This is at the very beginning where I think it has 500x potential. I'm mostly just being funny because I watched a video that said this has 500% potential. I have no idea what potential it is, but I do know this. If NVTX gets on that run, like we've seen in the past, I seriously can't search it.
It's you did NT instead of NV.
That's crazy. Comms there. You get on a run, and I'm telling you, it's at 20. If it does the 100% proof of concept, it starts executing its plan, because it's still a very highly speculative trade. There's a lot of things that could go wrong yet. They're not producing the revenue they should be yet, but they have a solid plan to do so, and that's why I like them. And I know Kade and I are following a lot of people who are loving NVTS as well as their shit. We got, Kevin Hughes trading it. A lot of people I've followed are trading it, and I'm just getting more and more convinced and like it. So what I'm trading it for is, they just acquired a company called Claros, which essentially has technology that transfers electricity to power source. It's a power transfer way more efficiently than it usually does. So I didn't know this, but apparently if you transfer, even though copper is a good conductor of electricity, however long the wire is, you lose power as it goes along, which means you need more power initially going from the source through the wire into the data centers. Okay. So NVTS just acquired this technology, and essentially it's 4 times as efficient of transferring power. And then NVTS's own proprietary technology is the best in the business at transferring the full round of the electricity and power and energy needed for the data centers into the actual data centers. So it's actually going to save NVIDIA, AMD, and all these companies a lot of money on how much electricity because it's going to be the most efficient. So it's literally the power supply adapter is how I think of it right now. And obviously NVIDIA is partnered with them, and I think they're going to get other partnerships as they scale. So now it's just about execution, and they need their revenue to start growing. One of the biggest, risk is, does the AI semiconductor market stay hot? And if there's anything that me and Kade believe right now is yes. I mean, we don't see a world where it's not going there. So it's only, personally, their biggest risk is execution. I mean, there's stuff of like, is it demand? Is this? Because they have the technology. It's now, can they scale it, execute it, and get other business? NVIDIA's already partnered with them. And so I think, they're $3 billion company that could turn into 30, 40 billion easy with the demand that it will produce. They just need to execute, right? So it is a very risky play. It hits that next run though. Historically the runs for the double leverage have been 800-900%, which I'd be stoked with, but it didn't fully take away my September thing. I need to see a little bit more market churning, but it was enough for me to go half in. That was my big trade this week. Anyway, sorry, kind of a lot. What are your initial thoughts? Because I know Kade's just hearing a lot of this for the first time too.
Yeah,
I know it's on our watch list.
Yeah, I've heard all this. I've seen all this. And actually, I've been tempted to switch to NVTS, but I've continued to do all the research on IREN and where they're currently valued versus Nebis and CoreWeave, how much power they have access to. Their earnings are today. And I was doing research. I was like going through options and different options pricing, and basically all of my AI was like, if you want to buy a lottery ticket, purchase short-term call options on today's earnings, essentially saying it's gambling. But I'm still a little bit tempted to do it because one of the thesis was, IREN also partnered with NVIDIA and is an NVIDIA I don't know if it's approved, NVIDIA approved company. They just executed on their first, but today's earnings is going to go over whether they think they can execute on the rest of what they already have planned. Because if you look at, it's kind of like, so I was talking to a guy about Nebis about 8 months ago, and he was talking about the contracts they had, and he said their valuation's stupid because just in their current contract, their valuation is more than what
their contracts
worth.
Are more than their
contracts
valuation.
Worth more than their valuation. So how does that make sense? And Nebis is up 150% since then because, there's usually a multiple on revenue. IREN is currently at that point. And so several people see it, 2.5xing fairly shortly, assuming they can execute. Now, assuming it's like Mack said, NVTS needs to execute, IREN needs to execute. These are speculative. It all depends on what they're able to do. But I don't know. I'm at the point where if we have a strong thesis, we believe in it and nothing changes, we just need to stick to it and stay in it. So I'm not getting out of this one. And so something funny, I go through our tickers and I look at it, and I know I gave you guys a path update, I think last week or 2 weeks ago.
Path is over 18.
We first got into path at, I want to say 1750. Yeah, 1750. We rode it all the way down to 10. It stayed at 10 for like 6 months, and now it's back to 18. And would its path may double from there. And it goes back to when MSTR and BNMR were going down, in a big money account, I feel like me and Mac are more tempted to move out quickly or change or adjust. But in my long-term account, I just bought more, and I bought more, and I bought more, and I brought my cost basis down. And now it's just reaching where it was when I was originally buying. In fact, it's down 40% from where I'm originally buying, but it's up 150% from its lows. And so, now I have tons of profit in it. And so it just goes back to like, if you believe in something, if you have a thesis, if your thesis doesn't change, sometimes you just mistimed it. But that is why you're seeing Mac and I are doing a lot less in options. But I'm still, dude, should I do it? Live trade? Should I just want to do like,
Trade.
so I have 10,000
Live
in
trade.
double leveraged IRON.
So you
I
have
just
to
want to
sell
take
that and put some in.
500.
So, okay, before you do live trade, in this earnings, they can't just beat expectations. Like, do you have any research news with forward guidance?
So
Because
that's the key, because
expectations are nothing anymore.
yeah, no, we already know what, like, it's not going to be a fantastic quarter. They're not going to super beat. We know that. It's all if they say
Microsoft.
Horizon. So the Microsoft deal is called Horizon. They delivered Horizon 1, 2 to 4 are already contracted through the rest of the year. If they say we are going to deliver Horizon 2 to 4 by the end of the year, 5 to 7 have already been bought, and we're finding people for 8 to 10, because those 8 to 10, 1 to 7 has been sold, and then they're going to continue to develop and build more. And so if they say that,
Go into these stages.
it'll pump.
Go into the 1 to 7 stages. That what's being bought, just for people listening in.
So the NeoCloud compute is being bought. So Microsoft already purchased all of their NeoCloud from 1 to 7. So that's why when I say, their company's only worth future revenue, assuming they can actually deliver all of these compute sections from 1 to 7, their revenue will be the company's current valuation. So like I said, though, they're not going to deliver on 4 until the end of the year, and then 5 through 7 will be next year, and then they're looking at more. But what I was looking at, because just so everyone knows, they used to be a Bitcoin miner, and they still are, but they're like fading off. A lot of these companies that we're talking about were Bitcoin miners that had all the technology and infrastructure to be AI neoclouds, and so they're just pivoting and switching, so that's part of it. But based on what Elon Musk, and it is Elon, but based on what he says you can charge for compute and the access that IREN already has, they just need to switch to this. I mean, if they actually can deliver, the company should 5x. Like 5x would be the base case, assuming they can execute. And that's why, like, I'm kind of in the mindset of, okay,
but if they execute, they're going to get additional business, right?
If 5x is the base case, assuming they execute, let's say they have poor execution, doesn't happen as fast as you thought, everything goes wrong. How do they not 2x? Like, assuming things don't just blow up. Like, if 5x is the base case, that's why, like, that's why I can't get out of IREN. And there are bears, and, it is speculative. It's not like it's all rainbow. Like, a lot of people think they won't execute. They can't actually adjust. They can't actually deliver. The Horizon 1 actually being delivered was a big step in that direction. But the rest of this year matters. What they say on this conference call, if they're actually going to be able to deliver this year, 2 through 4 matters. And honestly, if they say they can't on this earnings call, then that would change my thesis, right? And maybe I switch to something like NVTS or something like that. But that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I'm very interested too to do half NVTS and half IREN, because IREN honestly has been on my it's been on my top. Right, I've had Bloom, NVTS, APLD, and IREN on my list.
Bloom. It is so tough. I saw you're in Bloom. It is so tough for me to not be in it. Nancy Pelosi just bought tons of shares and call options expiring next June. And if we learned anything from ALPD and every trade Nancy Pelosi's ever made.
I did the exact options in Intel that she did. The exact options, March next year.
Did you really?
I did. And the crazy thing is, I only did 2 contracts just outside of the money, and it was like $3,000. I said, done. Risking it with Nancy Pelosi. I might do the same with Bloom, because you just told me that.
Dude, I like Bloom. better than Intel. I know. It's
Dude,
I think her blooms are next June though, not March.
Bloom's only hold up. It is it's all about, man, we love companies that haven't proven they've actually executed. We're putting a lot of faith in it. One of them's got to execute. NVTS, Bloom, or Iron. We can't go 0 for 3 on execution. That's you know what I mean? But Bloom, NVTS, and Iron is all about execution because, like you said, I mean, proof of concept's there, money's there, demand's not slowing down. It's not. It's not. And one thing we got to pay attention to is end of year, we get new CapEx budgets. If CapEx budgets stay high or increase, all these companies that are tied in from NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, all of Bloom, NVTS, they're going to be stoked. It's going to be extremely good news if CapEx stays or increases for the next year coming up. And so I'm actually, that'll be really important news for what we're seeing. But Bloom is going to lead energy. I mean, their fuel cells are superior. And if the Scandinavian, oh my gosh, I can never say that word. Scandium,
Scandium. That's right.
Scandinavians. Apologies for everyone from Scandinavia. That's on me. I'm talking about the material, not the people. Scandium, if the biggest bear on that is they think that Bloom's lying about it. You know what I mean? That's the biggest bear. Like, that's crazy to me. That's just crazy to me. So, Nancy Pelosi's in. I'm in. It's actually funny that you just said Nancy Pelosi's in, too, because I actually just sold my double leveraged Bloom because it was up 15% to do short-term call options in IREN. But now I don't know what to do. Maybe I just buy it back. I'm trying not to diversify, but do you hate the a third between Bloom, NVTS, and IREN? All double leveraged.
No, I don't. Plus, so Kevin Yu is the all-in guy, and that's kind of why even though I'm not all in because I am diversified among 3, but I have like my IREN is like all of my stocks, and then I just think Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to go on a huge run over the next 3 years and can 10x, and so I'm in leveraged positions of that, and I think that could be a big part of my million, and I'm just going to hold it and stick to it and whatever. But I mean, Kevin Yu doesn't know everything. I do like making 3 bets. You're not doing options this time. You super believe in all of them. I like it. This conversation's actually tempting me to do some stuff in my long term too.
I mean, I'm definitely probably too aggressive in my long term right now. I got, long-term options in MSTU and BMNR, or sorry, MSTR and BMNR. Sorry for the confusion. MSTR, BMNR are the actual companies for Michael Saylor with Bitcoin, Tom Lee with Ethereum. MSTU is double leveraged, and BMNU's double leveraged those two. Just to clarify for everyone watching.
And I think this is a good thing to tell all our people because we've kind of been flippy-floppy on this, but me and Mac officially are on the same page. We now both agree that if you are going to buy options, don't do it on the leveraged stocks. And there's a lot of reasons, but the bottom line is me and Mac are both now on the same page. We like buying shares of double leveraged if you're going to try and time it perfectly, or triple leveraged, but we are not buying options on those anymore. And like I said, there's a lot of reasons, but just so everyone knows and is clear, because we've dabbled in options on leveraged stocks.
Of course. Yeah. If you're going to do options, you got to do it on the real deal. Volume's just higher. Liquidating them's more tough. I mean, the short experience that I had that kind of threw me out is I actually had options in MSTU. The stock, I should have made 200, 250% and ended up only making 80%, which only grateful for the 80%. But I took on extra risk to make just 20% more than what the actual stock had did versus what the option should have been, just because volume, they did a reverse split. There were just funny things that were happening. So just a bummer there, but it's all good. I actually ended up rolling it into my MSTR option, and that's done really well. So very happy. But yeah, I am very tempted to do the speculative IREN trade. I mean, you saw my portfolio. I already have 1 contract. Maybe I do 1 more because it's so cheap.
I don't want to gamble, but I do want to gamble.
Well,
I do
it's
want-
just all about, do you think their forward guidance is going to be good?
I
And
just
I
think
don't
so.
see-
So one of the big things that I was thinking about is, what does NVIDIA say? They killed it. Can IREN deliver? They've already delivered one. So it's like, I think the probability of them saying good things is super high.
Why wouldn't they be able to execute? I know the Bears are like, they can execute, but what would be the cause of them not executing? Maybe that's what we got to figure out before the end of the day, before we do it. Because if it's like, that's a
I've
stretch,
already looked into all the bear cases.
but like, why do they say they can't execute? What do they say?
Because management sucks.
Well, the management sucks. Okay. That's actually not a bad reason. Management is important, but
It's super crucial.
anyway,
They're delivering.
they're still
So
delivering.
what's the proof the management sucks? That it would be not being able to deliver. Maybe should we do our new thesis? Should I just do a small one? I could do one for 225 instead of 500. And then if I'm right, I get a small win. If I'm wrong,
Yeah, I mean, you can
doesn't
do a
matter.
small win. I mean, if you're right, I only see it like 100xing. So
100x?
sorry,
I mean 2x?
2x,
100%.
100%. I
You
can
wanna
only
see 100xing? I'll be halfway to the $1 million if it 100x's.
Yeah, Iron's gonna open at 500 tomorrow. It's gonna be great.
Dude, that's what, speaking of that, Moderna did that the other day. They came out with did you see that?
No,
You had to have seen it. You didn't see it?
no. What's the ticker?
Moderna, so they were one of the two companies, Pfizer and Moderna were the ones that did the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
Moderna, in preliminary testing, have something that's, I don't know if it's curing cancer or delaying cancer or something. And they came out with their results, and the next day they were up 150%, and the call options were up 1,200%.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Like insane.
Missed that
Now,
one.
if IREN comes out that they've cured cancer tomorrow in this earnings call,
Should have done my 1-day options on Moderna, dang it.
yeah,
Hey,
said
it's all right.
everyone ever.
All right. But anyway, recap. We're looking heavy in Bloom, heavy in Iron, heavy in MVTS. We'll keep you posted. Kade's in Iron. I'm in MVTS. I think Kade's in double leveraged Iron, and I'm also in double leveraged MVTS. There is a high probability both of us make a Bloom trade coming up. I just really like it. So we'll keep you posted next week, though. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.